Alrighty, check this out. Got ourselves a bit of bush tucker here. This is a Harlequin mistletoe plant. They have these little sweet red berries. And they're great bush tucker. Tastes really nice. Could definitely make a jam from these. And the Pitjantjatjara call them nangcha. Or where I grew up they call them minara. So I'll eat a couple of those. Not bad. Now this is actually a parasitic plant growing on this acacia or wattle tree. This is a witchetty bush, acacia kempiana, and I can tell by the shape of the leaf that it's a witchetty bush. Down in its root system there are a lot of big witchetty grubs living and eating it as we speak. I'll show you that stuff later. However, this one, the nangcha, the birds come along. There's a mistletoe bird, which is a small bird with some red and white, and there's also the white-plumed honeyeater will come along and they'll eat this nangcha berry. They'll fly to another tree and they'll do a dropping on a branch, and a little seed will tap into the branch of its host. So it is a parasitic. You can see it's definitely separate to the rest of the tree. And it has its own chlorophyll, its own leaves, and it does its own photosynthesis. So it creates its own energy and sugars from the sun rays. The only thing it takes from this mulga tree is the water. So the mulga collects the water, he takes that and he creates his own sugar. And then we got these lovely little berries. Have a look in there, look at all that. Beautiful nangcha, native mistletoe. There's another species, larger berries, lives on a black gidgee, which is another species of acacia. And then there is also a couple of other species that live on eucalypts as well. Unlike North America, the ones that live up there, the berries can be poisonous or toxic, but the ones down here in Australia, mate, good as gold. Here we go. Love this stuff, the grevillea, golden grevillea. And you can see it's got the nectar right in there and it's really sticky. And if you're out in the bush and you need a bit of energy, this is the stuff to get. And you just find your plant and then you find somewhere that has the sticky parts. You can see the syrup in there. Sweet, sticky nectar. You can just suck it out like that. Delicious stuff. I can see what the birds and the insects are on about. Also, if you've got your drink bottle, you can dip that in there. Well, switch it around a little bit, make yourself some bush cordial. Then you don't have to break it off the tree or anything, and then you leave it there, and she'll be there next time. Well, here we are in the middle of nowhere, as usual, and I just wanted to stop here and show you guys something really interesting. There's these bumps coming straight through the road. I call it the Superman mushroom. Now, it's just got this power and ability to punch up through the bitumen and grow right there like that. It's a type of truffle, and there's another species which is a bit smaller that the Ananu, or indigenous to this area, they'll use it for bush tucker. Crazy stuff. This is an interesting, resourceful little plant, Caladrinia. better known as a parakelia. Beautiful purple flowers. You can eat the leaves off these and they're full of juice, full of water. And they could actually save your life in a survival situation. If you're out in the central western desert area and you get lost in the bush and you're dehydrated, look for these purple flowers. You can actually eat the whole plant. You can cook and steam the root system of it as well. We can take the whole plant and cook it on the coals in the fire, or you can just eat it raw as it is. But they're the little leaves there. There's a few different species, a broadleaf one and this one's the finger one. And they'll get to about 10 centimetres. Purple leaf parakelia. It'll stop you getting dehydration out here in the central western desert area. Could be a lifesaver. So you can see the cylindrical edible parts of the plant here. They come to a point also, and it's another good thing to take notice of when you want to distinguish different types of plants and bush tuckers. So you can see this particular species has 5 purple petals, has white in the middle and yellow right in the center there. It's always a good idea to take note of the little things that distinguish different species and to know exactly what you're eating, and don't eat it unless you know exactly what it is. If you eat the wrong bush tucker, you could end up in more trouble than it's worth. Alright, check it out. This is another bit of bush tucker here. Have a look at that little ripper. Beautiful red coloration. That's how we know when it's ready. And that is called the Quandong. Now he's a little bit bitter, but it goes very good in a jam or a pie, or even making a paste out of them. Now you can pick them up off the ground as well. Just make sure you wash them and that rodents haven't chewed on them. This is one of the favourite bush tuckers of the Anangu. The Quandong is the native peach tree and Pitjantjatjara is mungutta. So the ones in the southern parts and the arid areas of Australia are red, and the ones up north in the tropics are actually blue. They're a great bush tucker. Got an interesting seed on it too, quite a hard seed. Unfortunately for the old Quandong trees here, ever since the introduction of the feral camel to Australia in the 1800s, the trees have taken quite a beating, and if there's any little saplings that grow up, the camels will come along and eat the whole tree, which also makes it very hard for the local indigenous with their bush tucker disappearing. Alrighty, here's some more bush tucker here. This is the illy, or the ficus, the fig. It's a native rock fig found in central Australia, and it's mainly growing where there's a bit of moisture and rocky areas, as figs do, but it's from the ficus family. The figs go to a lovely yellow colour like that. They're not too bad, but my favourite is when they're a dark red or a purple colour. Now, interesting thing with the figs is that it's actually a flower, and the pollination happens on the inside there. And the way that that happens is each of our fig trees have a symbiotic relationship with some type of insect, usually a wasp, which lays a larvae in there using an ovipositor, where it drops off an egg and that hatches, turns into a grub, and then it will feed and cross-pollinate those little flowers in there. And an interesting thing is each different species of ficus or fig has a different type of insect that has a symbiotic relationship with it. And then, if you're lucky, you'll actually get a little bit of protein with that if there's a grub inside. Not everyone's cup of tea, I know, but yeah, the ficus or the fig, very good for you, nutritious, quite juicy as well. Have a look at this iconic species. This little guy here, Central Western Desert area, Alocasuarina, the desert oak. And this is a little juvenile here, and his mate, probably his brother or sister. And what they do is they grow very slowly, and they'll send a taproot down into the water table. It's 10 to 12 metres below us. Once they hit that, then they'll start to branch out from there and grow into the ones like the giant behind me, which we'll go and have a look at now. So these trees, their bark is so thick with layers and layers and layers, it's actually fire resistant. There's hundreds and hundreds of tiny little layers, and it basically makes this tree trunk fireproof. You can see this guy's been through a fire and he's got some charcoal on the bark there. Now if I had stomach problems, cramps, diarrhea, an infection or a bug, I would scratch all of the charcoal off a couple of pieces of bark, mix them with water, and I would drink that, and it will absorb all of the toxins out of your stomach. So really good for stomach cramps and fixing stomach problems. One interesting thing is once that taproot reaches right down into the ground and the tree gets 200, 300, 400 years old like this one, because it's connected to the water table in the summertime when they have lightning storms out here, it can actually become a lightning conductor because it's joined right into that water table. And you will see these guys out here traveling when you're traveling around in the desert, and you can see clearly they've been struck by lightning and the ends of the branches are burnt, and that's what causes a lot of the fires out here in that time. Most of them are just grass fires, nothing too major, but the cone from this guy actually splits open with the heat, so the fire works for the tree as well. And there's his cone there, and it splits open and the seeds obviously shoot out. Now they're also great little hand and foot massages. They're super hard and they got little spikes and bumps on them. Actually really good for a little bush massage. So because it's such a harsh environment, this tree has evolved to have phyllodes or phyllodes rather than leaves, and you can see they're cylindrical and they break off in segments. So if it starts getting too dry, it can drop segments of the leaves, and then eventually it can pull all the moisture back into the tree if need be. And they're in sections, and you can pull them off like that, and they actually make really good bush toothpicks. Of course, when they do fall to the floor around the base of the casuarinas of the trees, this decomposes when it gets wet and obviously supplies nutrients back into the tree also. So it's a continuous cycle of dropping leaves. And you can hear that noise, that the wind passing through the casuarina trees. And it kind of reminds you of a time back in the Gondwana period from when these trees have been here. Like all of the plants and animals out here in the Central Western Desert, the desert oaks, casuarinas, are very important to the indigenous of this area, the Ananu, the Yankunytjatjara, Nunkunytjatjara, Lyritja and Pitjantjatjara people, and obviously a great source of shade when it's really hot. And the wood is also super hard, so that can be used for tool making as well in various applications. When branches break off, they can actually form a bit of a cup on the inside of the tree. And if there's a lot of dew around at certain times of year or it rains, those cups will actually hold moisture and water in there. Also, some of the root systems that are fairly close to the surface can be dug up and water can be extracted from there. So like anything out here, plants and animals, everything's all interconnected, surviving in a symbiotic relationship. All of the plants and animals have special certain uses in certain times and certain seasons. This is wanari, and we're looking for tarkula, which is this guy here. Now that is called a bush apple, and it's kind of sweet, very sweet. It's not bad. Bush apple off the mulga tree. So this one's different. You can see it's got different phyllodes, which are like leaves, where all the photosynthesis happens, but they're a different shape. And this tree is used to make the wana, the digging stick for the women, and it's acacia anurea. Oh. That's a maku party.
Big party, Rahul, big party.
That's what we want. Golden brown, still a little warm, and nice and crispy. It really is delicious. Kind of hard to describe what it tastes like. It's a bit nutty, a bit eggy, kind of scrambled eggs with nuts. I guess some people say it tastes a little bit like seafood. But yeah, it really tasty, and it's full of essential fats and high in protein. So it's a really good energy source, bush tucker. And if you get the right tree in the right spot, you can pull 10 or 15 off it. You know what you're looking for?